So I will just start by introducing myself slightly and where I'm from. So if it works. So I'm here today to tell you guys about UPS from Legrand. So I am from Legrand, and my name is Jakob. I'm the marketing manager for commercial power solutions in the Nordic zone, meaning that I am Danish, based in Sweden, responsible for the region. Just to make it complicated. I am from commercial solutions and not data center. Aha, that's two different worlds. You guys know that, if anybody does that. So I was asked to attend here, even though we have a actually dedicated data center solutions group that some of you maybe already have established connections with somehow during the years. But as I said, my name is Jakob. I have been working with Legrand for approximately 17 years, everything from sales to technical manager for the Nordic zone as well. And recently I'm in business development and marketing. So I should have brought my Ulf as well, but I didn't have the pleasure. So can you support me? Sure, we will do a test. We will do a test, yeah. So as I said, I'm from Legrand. Who is Legrand? I hope most of you know. I expect that you do, but if not, I'll give you some updated information about it. Legrand is a French-based company out of Limoges, just approximately 600 kilometers south of Paris. We're at the moment somewhere between 39 and 40,000 employees worldwide, and we are focusing on 4 markets. So if you've seen one of the later presentations for a couple of years ago, it said 3 markets. And this is actually where we are entering into datacom, data center business, which is a growing business for us as well as it is for all of us. And this is something that we have taken the step to implement a separate division within Legrand about 3 years ago. So this of suddenly not only focusing on commercial power, commercial distribution, domestic and industries, which has been our core businesses so far, but due to acquisitions of partners in the market, we have been able to put together a range of very interesting brands within data center as well. I just managed to put in recently the updated figures for 22. So as you see, we had a fantastic year on the European business market. In 22, we actually managed to grow by 19.2%. So we are reaching 8.3 billion euro in turnover. So significantly player on the market. The split as it is right now, this is as of 21 sales. Our biggest market is the European market. And the European market is also where 85%-ish of the products we are selling on the European market is being produced in Europe. When I'm saying 85, it's because we have quite some areas coming from US, and we have certain productions of specialized units coming from India and China to supplement the ranges that we have produced in the European Union. You see we have a very big market in the US. This is primarily on actually data center, but also domestic panels, domestic installations, wiring devices and such. So for those of you who don't know it, Legrand is actually the world leader in wiring devices. So being sockets and outlets, not that much to do with data centers unless it's EU plugs. But I'm from the Nordic zone. So a lot of things have happened in the Nordic zone over the last couple of years actually. So as I said, I've been working with Legrand for 17 years within the Nordic zone, based out of Denmark, different responsibilities. And until 2021, we were approximately 50 people responsible for the full Nordic zone. In 2021, we acquired Ensto Building Systems, so the Finnish company, as you know, Ensto Building Systems, which meant that we grew in the Nordic zone to just short of 500 people at the moment, actually. So we took over their production, and they have merged this into Legrand brand during 21 and 22, and the sales organizations and the full structure in the Nordic zone is being restructured. And that's why if some of you have sharp eyes, you'll see it says one thing on my badge and something else on the presentation. Because I was in business development before, but I'm now in marketing management. So the Nordic zone covers, as you see on the picture here, Denmark, Sweden, Norway, Finland as the main areas. We have Baltics as well. And I was not able to find a proper picture, except where it's very small here. Iceland and Greenland is in our scope as well. So it's a quite huge region that we are supporting for this. And in this, as I said before, I'm from commercial power, and we have a data center division. Meaning that the structure is that we have organizations in each country. In Finland, we have offices here, actually not that far from here, for standard sales, wholesaler sales, support to Orbis, and such. And this is focused on country-based. I am then based on the marketing level for the region, but then we added the data center solutions group who are floating a bit above everything. Because when it comes to data centers and it comes to data control, construction of new, support, everything, it is not just kept to one country. It is very difficult to say that everything is just handled in one country. Many times it's actually across. It can be supporting, it can be design, it can be many different aspects that is impacting these things. So we have a data center group with a couple of guys, even here in Finland, who are within this, who works across and then pull on us in the standard columns, if we should put it like this, in the regions for support, in terms of sales, in terms of support as well. Just to give you an idea. And again, if there's any questions, just raise your hand and say, otherwise I will be here afterwards as well. Commercial power. For me, just to give you an idea of the scope, it is actually all the way from the 25, 36, 50 kilovolt transformer stations via the bus bar to the main panels, to distribution panels, to cable management. This also means Starline bus bar. It also means Zucchini bus bar, as some of you probably know from data centers around the country. This is all part of the Legrand range of power, commercial power, but also data center power. And when I say commercial, it means that I'm responsible for the hospitals, for the infrastructure, for transport, but I am also supporting the data center because they don't have people for this type of power within data center either. But it also comes down to the UPS, and this is why I'm here today. So I'm here to tell you guys about the UPS range from Legrand. Legrand is a company under many names. So as I said, it's a French company, but it's actually a name that consists of very many brands. And here under, that's a bad slide, isn't it? It's kind of missing something. Wow, it was there originally. It was there originally. You can read the text though. It says 70 global brands. And I don't think I have nope, there was no function on it. Something killed my slide, probably myself. I'm very sorry. This was simply planned to indicate the different brands that is under here, being, Zucchini, as I said before, actually Raitan as a competitive to some of what we otherwise have in the house today, and within data business, but also Rex, Bicicino within power. So Legrand is at a size where we, of course, develop, but we also tend to acquire partners that can support the business that we have, so that we can together grow the business better, as we've done with Ensto in Finland. Also, to be able to show you how we have come and managed to come within such a relatively short time to the range of available UPSs that we have. Because those of you who've been within the market for 10 plus years will have heard about Legrand, but probably not for UPS. And there's a very good reason for that. It is actually, at the end of the day, a mix of different brands that has been acquired over the last 10 years. So the range I'm showing you here is a mix that we are piecing together, redesigning, optimizing for the usage that we have in the different sectors here under data center. So the range goes from, does this work on it? No, it does not. It goes from smaller single-phased UPSs, online, line interactive single-phased UPSs, and offline PDU UPS. So you will actually see this unit in one of the racks out here. And this is not to compete with these guys who are masters in what they're doing, but this is actually an 800 watt VA, 800 VA UPS directly inside the PDU that gives you 15 minutes backup time for a smaller installation. So nothing comparable with what you guys saw earlier, but for the small standard flow business, because as I said, I'm from the commercial power, and this is a product that has its rights in both areas. Yeah? So keep in mind that I have a foot in both camps. So it also means that I have very good, strong, single-phased small UPSs for offices, but also for smaller racks, smaller rack installations. And I have the same R&D development behind it to push the technology to all of this, to synchronize software, to synchronize the development of these things. And this is what makes it interesting to have the Legrand range, is that it is a very big, wide range under one cap. And then we go into three-phased UPSs, modular, conventional, and UPS saver, as we have as the biggest unit, which is one we have specialized for very big data centers primarily. To be very honest, as I said, this is, and here we have some of the names. So this one is working. This is a mix of different brands. So to take you through the storyline, I'll do it quickly. In 2010, Legrand decided to acquire Inform in Turkey, who's a very big producer of UPS, three-phased UPS. This gave us a base, a very good, strong base installation for UPS. Following year, in 11, we acquired SMS, which is a South American brand with production in South America, and we are only selling these products in South America. But it has given us a very big market share and access to the South American market for UPS for commercial setups. So these are conventional UPSs because of the power supplies there, simply. We have taken over, as you see, numeric and S2S in France as well, within short times after. And this is constantly a view on developing. In these cases, we are coming to modular-based UPSs. When we see we need something to fill the range, we find the partners that we need for this. So it is not that we have, honestly speaking, developed it from scratch, but we have taken and continued the development together with these partners. Later, in 2016, we take over or acquire the Italian and German company, Fluxware and Primatech, because we needed production and know-how focused in the European market for, again, conventional UPS. Some of you will quite possibly know the name Bori. Bori is a very big company that we contacted back in 2017 for acquisition, but they say no. because Bori is so big, they were afraid what would happen when being acquired by a company like Legrand. So we made an agreement with them to do a cooperation until 22, so for 5 years, where we did a cooperation. And in 22, they said, okay, they had seen what Legrand stands for. They had worked with us for long enough. So they said, yes, they accepted the acquisition terms and is today a full partner and fully integrated part in Legrand Group. So that's why actually, when I say I'm from Legrand, it should be I'm from Legrand Group. That would be more covering. And this does and puts us in a situation where we are able to offer to you guys and to the market UPSs from actually 20 watt to, I think it's 2.7 megawatt. So that's quite a range. But it is not, as I said, and this is why I show you this, to be very frank and honest with you, that it is from different specialized partners that is specialized in the different areas. So if we go for Bori, the units, these are the high capacity, high power units. Bori is handling this. Inform is handling other productions because we cannot produce everything everywhere. So we keep the production lines and we make sure that everything is still running, but under an optimized marketing and design setup. Any questions so far? No. So as I said, we start very small. So this is actually a 600 to 800 VA, very small, 20 watt UPS. Why am I showing you this? This is simply just to show you the range, the wide of the range. This is meant for your home router, it's a DIY product, it's over the counter, it's for the wholesalers, it's just flow. You can actually put it behind your indoor IoT camera. Is this interesting for you guys? I'm not sure, but I show it to you guys because it could be, you never know. The range then step up a bit. This is a multi-plug version that comes connected with plugs, Shuku outlets or French-Belgian pin outlets. It is not to be considered as a PDU at all. It is a tabletop version. It can be used in many different cases, but it's a unit we see often used in supermarkets or under a counter or cash register or these things. And we have a small unit here, Kia SP, which is actually for some reason a big seller at the moment due to one simple thing, standardization. And we all work with standardization every day. We all having to follow certain rules. And for me right now, I'm very happy that the EU and all of us know what impacts the EU regulations can have at certain areas. You mentioned it earlier, good and bad. And I'm on the lucky side at the moment because EU impacted a new rules and regarding automatic doors. So electrical doors needs to have 60-minute battery backup time. This is from 2026, but Norway has already taken it in and made it mandatory. So this is a unit that we have focused on for such kind of installations. This means as well, for example, it could be data centers, it could be other places where you have setups, you have automatic doors, of course you have that to a certain extent. Small units like this, place it, and it comes with a small bracket, you simply place it over the door. You have an existing outlet on the wall where you plug your electrical door into, everything works, you simply put this in between. Very simple. But again, to show you the range. Here we start coming to the new, first of all, design. And this is the Kia SPE Tower and the Kia SPE RT. The Kia SPE RT, as you see on the side, is a flat version that can be vertical or horizontal mounted. And the horizontal mounting of it is actually meant for data rack. So this is the kit brother of the range some of you probably might know as the Dakar DK. So the Dakar DK Plus is a 1 kVA to 10 kVA range, rack-based, and we have it in the showroom down here as well. I'll gladly show it to you afterwards. And this is a smaller brother to it that do not have as many options, but is smaller in size, have a higher efficiency for the medium sizes. We had a slight discussion shortly downstairs regarding racks around 3,000 VA. This could be an option, except, actually it could be an option because of the battery times you need in this case, because you are not able to extend the battery time this long as you are with the Dakar DK, which is the big brother to this. I showed you guys before, and you will see this downstairs as well. This is a Kia PDU. As I said, a standard small PDU UPS, 15 minutes backup time. So it is not for bigger racks. It is for standard small applications, wall-mounted racks, where you have the need for this kind of units. So you have a direct connection on the back side, and you have the Shugo outlets on the front. It is at the moment not even an option to have IEC outlets in it, because it is meant as a consumer unit. Here we start coming in the next ranges to Kia LP, Dakar DK, as I said, 1 to 10 kVA, and Kia S. These are still single-phased OnLine UPSs that start reaching the expectations and the needs and the performance needs that you guys, I expect you guys will have. So here we have optimized communication, we have high efficiency on the UPSs, we have internal, external battery cabinets if you guys need this depending on the setup. We have possibility to connect it and extend, as I said, battery backup times. Even for a Dakar DK like this, which is rack-based, in the core unit, we are able to connect it to a rack-based battery backup externally if we need. There can be pros and cons for both. We also have battery cabinets in up to 3 U-sized units for the Dakar DK. Yeah? Here we now take a step slightly up, and this is 3-phase UPS, OnLine conversion, and I put a small orange line across it, and this is simply because here's the cut of everything you've seen until now, and until the orange line is more or less plug and play. There's not really any requirements from us or for anybody for service contracts, for maintenance in this sense. If the batteries stop working or anything happens, it's in many cases actually easier to replace the units than it is to service them. So it's a very honest, very frank discussion saying up until the Dakar to the Kia Compact, it is actually in many cases easier to replace the units due to the battery cost and service time of the technicians who has to go on site, because the failures are so rare and the loads are so limited that the chances of anything happening is very small. We have service setups, we have maintenance manuals, we have all of this, but it's not a requirement to install this, to implement this in the installations, to go through any of this. Kia Compact is the last in the range. And here we actually do have service maintenance training levels, what we call training level C3 and C4, which is for replacing parts on the cards inside the UPSs. But it is not a requirement to have any kind of training to install them. So we are still in a relatively plug-and-play setup. So it depends on what kind of service level you want to have on the different units, what we need to cooperate to in cooperation. When we then, as soon as we reach the Kier T Evo or Kier T, the power goes up, and here suddenly we start having certain what we define as C1, C2 level trainings for partners, for installers. It can even be people on site who needs to service or maintain the units in different levels. But these are units that are standalone, floor-based, but they're online commercial mid-range units as we have here. We grow the range again a bit, and some of them look slightly alike, and this is correct. Especially you have a unit like the Kier HP here and the Kier HPE. They are slightly bigger than the former ones we saw. This is correct. One of the main differences is that the Kier HP is a unit we use for industries, because there is an isolating transformer inside, which is not very commonly used in many other cases anymore. But we have the possibility to install isolating transformers inside the Kier HPE. So this is an heavy industrial product. So I'll not go too deep or much deeper into this unless you have questions for this. And this is again conventional UPS. So if you are to service, you have to shut it down. You can shut down sections of it, but it will be there will be a need of shutdown unless you have parallel redundant supplies. Now we start coming to modular. So modular UPS gives a different accessibility and make sure that there's no downtime under service and in case of anything in the installation. It can be bad battery, it can be a bad faulty power module, it can be a short circuit in the installation, it can be an upgrade. It is much easier to do service and maintenance on a modular setup. And as you also mentioned earlier, it can be easier and in these cases to take the investment from the beginning to invest in modular UPS gives you the possibility to increase the flexibility in the installation along the road. These units are from Boy. So these are from our Boy manufacturing sites. So they are produced in Turkey and in Italy. So we even have possibilities to do testing. We can do fat test on sites, and people can attend if people want. Because now we are getting to the sizes of units where, as when we do transformer stations, we do fat test. We do the full documentation on this. So we are not only talking about environmental documentation, but we are talking about full power loads, short circuit testing. Everything is carried out in the laboratories in Italy and Turkey. Yeah. Kier Mod is in our new design. So Kier Mod is actually the new version of the Tri-Mod HE that you have next to it. So the Tri-Mod has been on the market for many years actually under the name Tri-Mod. But Kier Mod will be the new version of Tri-Mod, newly designed and primarily layout on display, which makes accessibility easier, and communication software has been updated in this to match the rest of the range. But Tri-Mod has been a unit that has software-wise stood a bit out from our ranges so far, but with the new Kier Mod, it is implemented in. Yeah. That did not help. Here we start getting to some serious power. So here we are reaching 60 to 600 kVA in standard units. So this is a modular-based UPS. So everything you have inside the unit is modular. So you can take out power modules, you can take out battery shelves to implement or to replace this if needed, but you can put the units in parallel. So this is based on units that you build together either with battery for backup time or power units for power. So as you see, they actually they are based on some standard cabinet sizes that you add together as Lego, as for the needs that you have. You have, in these cases here, you have a bypass module. So the small cabinet you have on the side here will be a bypass unit. So here you have all the electronics, you have all the breakers that you need. You have one cabinet where you have to enter to do your do your main maintenance and the control of the unit, and then you simply add units on the side with batteries, depending on how you want the load to be balanced or controlled. Yeah. This is the upscaler or upsaver. This is a totally scalable system. So this is actually a full, this is the big brother of the unit we saw before, but it is meant in a sense where you, for example, in data centers, can take the full rack. So not only do you take the unit as modular, but you can take the full rack. So these comes in units of 333 kVA, and you can pull out the full unit and replace full unit for data centers or very big hospitals in this sense. So this is a not only modular based inside for this as we had in the other cabinets, but even for the full units can be replaced. And you can do this hot swap, meaning you can do it under full load. So you can replace 333 kVA under full load. One guy. Which means that service is very cheap and very easily done. Yes, it has a cost in installing, but it means that you can very fast replace everything. Every single battery drawer inside these cabinets weigh no more than 16 kilos. Because that means that you're allowed to work with them for more than 6 hours, according to EU rules. If they weigh 20 kilos, you are not allowed to work with them that long. So the battery drawers, the power modules inside is based on very fast handling. It makes the unit a bit more interesting in sales. It generates nice turnover. Let's put it like that. But the whole idea of it is to say, what happens if you have a downtime? If you have an installation that reaches 1 megawatt or 500, if something happens in the installation, if you have downtime, what can cause it? What will happen? And what is the cost of it? How many people do you have on site to react and how fast? Yeah? So everything here is based on standard products, standard reference number based products. So you just can pick them out and put them on shelf for backup storage. But there's, in this situation here, not one single part that does not have a standard reference number from a catalog. Meaning that it's very easy to get, it's very easy, fast to find, and it's very easy to service. That's what makes upsaver very interesting. So this is the newest product we have in the range in this size. Also meaning that we talked about it earlier, environmental documents, PEP passports, EPD documents, and all of this is of course taken into consideration in this. And it is actually used as a the specific unit is used as an example in our CSR roadmap for how to implement environmental and to have the proper view on not only employees in manufacturing, sales, but also at the end of the day for the customers' life, for this carbon footprint for the full lifetime of the units. So we use this Observer as an example in our CSR roadmap for social responsibilities. Yeah? That was actually the range more or less of the UPSs going through the setup. All of this needs communication as well. So from the smaller units have the possibility to install communication cards, standard communication cards. But when we come to the DACA DK and from this range and up, many of the standard communication ports are integrated from the beginning. We of course offer different types of protocols to run the maintenance and service, but we can connect it to more or less anything, especially if we transfer it into Modbus or MBus. Then it's very easy to handle for most suppliers of monitoring setups and systems. Yeah. We are also able in this to add sensors and alerts, and this is because we, especially in the bigger units, I showed you here the Observer and I showed you others where we have integrated battery banks, so meaning that the batteries are inside the UPS. But in many cases, we actually also see that people want the UPS and the bypass switches in one room, and then they have a separate room for the batteries behind. It can even be on a different floor level. Normally, we do not recommend more than 70 meters between, which is still quite far, simply due to the loads on the DC. The DC cabling between this can have some impacts on the rest of the installation. So we have to be a bit careful if you have external battery banks. Just to be very frank again, the external battery banks, the racks we use for this is not our own production, but we have cooperation with different European partners for this, which also means that batteries for these banks or even batteries inside of the UPSs is something we can decide for the projects. What manufacturers is preferred for this can be decided in the different projects for batteries, because we are not a battery manufacturer, we are a UPS manufacturer. Yeah. Same goes with the communication here. We try to implement and use standard products so that it can be easily implemented with others. One of the things we have to discuss as well when we talk about UPS is maintenance. So to make it a bit more funny, I try to compare it a bit to a car. So we all used to having our car that we send to service regularly. We purchase the unit, we purchase the car, we purchase the UPS, and we're very happy. But down the road, service and maintenance will be needed. And I started by saying that the smaller UPSs do not need service and maintenance. Theoretically, it's not true. Because if you want it to last 15 years as well as your car, or 10 years as your car, you will need to service it somehow. But in many cases, the cost of serving it is higher than replacing it. But as soon as we got to the orange line, or actually the Kia Compact is included in this, the maintenance is a very good idea to implement as well. And the whole idea is here to say as well that we are able to enrich those who want to be able to do the service themselves by training, or we have partners who can carry out the services in the full of Finland as well, but actually in the full of Nordics, who can support on this as well. So in many cases, what we see for data centers, especially, but also for bigger industries, is that it's often a mix. So we see some local technicians having a C1, C2, maybe C3 training out of C4. So then we have the possibility of having service partners that can come in for the heavier duty. And we, as Legrand, actually have a team of what we call flying doctors. So we have 6 technicians located in Europe who stand on 24-hour support. But this is under a service contract. But we have them available. So we have staff that we can send on site very fast if needed. They're also the guys we normally actually use for training. These are the flying doctors who we use for the service trainings as well, on site and installation and startup services as well. But in this case here, we will see that we have a beginning, a purchase. We have a first maintenance. We start replacing parts. We start to replacing oil as we do in the car. It can be the same in a UPS. There are many active parts. You know this as well from data or data equipment, even PDUs, cooling. There's service for everything. It's only a way of figuring out how can we optimize this the best. And we look for, in these cases, as to see what is the usage of the units and how, where's the wear and tear highest. But maintenance is a part that we have to take into consideration when we talk about UPS and when we handle UPS, if we have a UPS in the installations that we have. So we as Legrand, as I said, we offer support. And when I mean support, I mean that we have our service partners as Orbis who helps us in the sales. We have our internal technicians in Finland who can support on project-based, who can help to describe the projects, who can help configure power setups, being UPSs, being transformers, being bus as well. We have in Denmark a project team, in Copenhagen, project team that handles all of this for the Nordic region. And as I said, we have 2 guys in the in-store office, or the old in-store office in Finland, who will be able to support technically on site here. So we have the project team in Copenhagen. Then we have some technicians in Europe who are flexible for the full region to support. And then we have the production sites. So we have a couple of different levels of support, and the whole idea of this is to be able to react as fast as possible. Because if there's a problem, it's now. It's not yesterday, it's not in 5 minutes, it's now. These are movable parts in the sense that the load changes, everything goes up and down. We heard it earlier how the installations grow, how everything changes over time, and sometimes it goes fast, and this can have an impact also on UPSs. So it's very important for you guys to feel comfortable and sure that you have the support that you will need both in projecting, but especially in service and maintaining afterwards. Training, as I said, we define 4 different levels, C1, 2, 3, 4, in trainings. So C1 and 2, depending on what ranges we are talking about, is primarily installation, startup, basic service, where are the parts, what can be done if something happens, if it shuts down urgently. C3 is a technical training, and the technical trainings have to be done hands-on. So here we are doing it in our local sites. So it can be in the office here in Helsinki, or it can be in Stockholm or in Copenhagen, locally for the region, where we can do the C3 trainings, where we have the units available, where we will go through the setup, the programming, how do we change the parameters to adapt these things, but it has to be hands-on. So the C1, C2 we can do at the site, on site. We can even do it via Teams, simply to do the first steps. The C4 is a training where we go through how to support and more or less replace parts. So this is a certified, actually all 4 levels are certified. So you will have a certified partnership agreement in this case as well. But the C4 training is all the way down, dirty hands in the scrub, replacing physical parts on the cards inside the UPSs, or updating power modules. Because in modular UPSs, as I said, you take a power module out, you put it back in, that's fine. What do you do with the old power module? So one of the parts of the C4 training is to teach how to refurbish replaced parts. Again, because in many cases, we can have these big installations, but by the time that we need to have parts flown in or transported somewhere, if you have an old part that is refurbished, we can be up and running really good. Yeah? This we do with partnerships, agreements of course, but we do it for you to be comfortable in the market. And again, maintenance, this is again, under the services in this is that we want to enable people to do it, but we also have service partners that can offer this service onto the market if there's wishes and needs for this. Yeah. One of the later slides we have here is that we have a dedicated web page and web page in this case called upslegrand.com. Here we find all documentation for all units, all catalog numbers, all technical data sheets, all BIM drawings, environmental documents, everything that you would need in many of these cases. Even C1 service manuals is available here. And if you go through the different training, and then you have access to C2, C3, C4 documents as well. So we have one dedicated page for UPSs for the full range. So there is a questionnaire, there's an area where you can go in and ask questions. You can ask requests for technical support. It can be for documentation as well. Depending on product, it will go to the right department in R&D. So it's not for, if you ask for Observer regarding short circuit tests in the bypass, it will not end with the DIY R&D. So we have tried to make it as easy and as flexible to find what is needed in this case. And as you also see, we have added a small configurator. This configurator is a online version, it's a free version, because as I said, Legrand bases most of their production of UPSs labeled Legrand on standard references. Not meaning that we cannot specialize units, not meaning that we cannot adapt them to special needs, but then we will normally actually sell them not under the Legrand name, but under, for example, Bori or Inform. Because then there's no question, where do the service and all of this afterwards belong? Because this is a specialized unit. So even though we go in here and I showed you the full range and you saw what possibilities are there, we can offer more, but on what you see and what you will find on this webpage, you will find reference numbers on everything. So it is plug and play. The configurator is a simple configurator. So as soon as you have longer battery times, as soon as you have special needs, it will block you. It will tell you to contact us directly. But for a standard 5 kVA with a backup time for 90 minutes and rack-based units and hooks and hangers and everything, it can do it very easily for you. So this is the first step to make the interaction as easy as possible in this case. We then, of course, locally in the Legrand sites have further additional, both for configuration of bigger units, but as I said, also for external batteries, for a footprint of rack, or for battery racks. We can adapt footprint of this with configuring tools, but this is something where we would prefer to be involved to make sure that everything is correct. Same when it comes to dimensioning of DC cabling, DC breakers on these levels as well. And DC, for example, DC battery breakers, panels or setup for this is something we often try to do locally because it can differentiate very much from project to project what needs are due to length of cabling and power loss. So the breakers can be quite different also because in Norway they want MCCBs, modular case circuit breakers. In Denmark we use fuses. So it's in Germany they use fuses. So it's let me put it like this, it's easier to adapt it locally to the specific project. Also because of breaking capacity of the installations, but backup protection and selectivity in other parts of the installation, it can be very individually what the needs are. Any questions for this? Because that's actually my next slide. Yeah? I think I'm a bit faster. Maybe I talked a bit faster than you guys, but I think I'm a bit ahead of time. But I just want to say thank you guys for today. And it's been a pleasure being here. And if you have any questions following up, please contact me. Feel free to contact me or contact Ulla. I left my business cards here, and I will be available downstairs as well afterwards.